But the reality is there is a battle for the heart and soul of this nation. And there's a battle for the heart and soul of every single man listening to this podcast. And people who want you to play small, who want to have control and power and authority over you, would love nothing more than for you to be fat, broke, pressed, anxious, suicidal, isolated. They love that because you're easier to control and manipulate. We have to build ourselves into sovereign men and then start building from there. This is a battle, guys. Men, today I want to talk with you about the battle for culture. I spent a lot of time over the past almost 10 years now talking about our own personal journeys, our own personal economies, our own sovereignty, self-development, and all of that stuff is wonderful and great. But it's come to my attention over, frankly, years of thinking about this, that we've got to be able to not only take care of and provide for ourselves and our families, but also turn our attention outwards, because whether we like it or not, the lives of our children are going to be impacted by the culture they're surrounded with. And at this point in our lives and their lives, the culture is lost. We're talking about degeneracy. We're talking about defunding police, and we're seeing just a lack of law and order. Our young men and women are constantly confused about whether a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man. The meritocracy is under attack. Capitalism is looked at as bad. And we've got open borders, and we've got increasing crime rates, and we've got DEI and all these kind of initiatives that I think are antithetical to the kind of society and culture that we want to create as men. One of prosperity and abundance and fulfillment and individual liberty and personal freedom and accountability and a life of satisfaction and pride and the ability to keep this country great, to make it great, to keep it great, and to have it work well in the lives of not only our children, but our grandchildren and the rest of our posterity. So today I wanted to talk with you about why this battle is so important, and then what specifically we can do to ensure that not only are we equipped to fight the cultural battle, but that we equip our children and our people as well. The reality is that this is a battle, and I've been using this verbiage for almost 10 years now. And I remember in 2015, when I started the Order of Man movement and podcast, I had a lot of people who balked at the idea of this being a battle or mocked the concept of masculinity being under attack. I saw it 10 years ago, and I see it even more today. And so it's crucial that we use the right verbiage, that we acknowledge it for what it is, and we realize that it is a battle. And there's a lot of bad actors, and there's a lot of ignorant people. We've heard them be called useful idiots, in order to drive the agenda to undermine the family unit, to undermine masculinity, to undermine American liberty and freedom, and that we become guardians of what is right and what is good and what will lead to a path of fulfillment for our kids. So the first thing, as I said, step number one is just maybe for the first time in our lives, just acknowledging that there is a battle. That people don't want you to win the way that you want to win. They want to control you. They want to dictate every aspect of your life. They want you under their thumb. They want you to do what is in their best interest. They're driven by greed and moral indecency. And if you can't wake up to the fact that there's something happening, whether it's malicious or ignorance or a combination of both, which is what I believe it is, that there is in fact something happening in culture. I think in a way there's a little bit of an awakening over the past even 60, 90 days that I'm very optimistic about. But if there was ever a time that we're fragile, this is it. And number two is knowing where the battle is fought. Guys, this is in the halls of academia, whether it's the college halls and Ivy League schools, all the way down to first, second graders, kindergartners, being taught by degenerate people, confused people, trying to conflate the sexes and trying to tell them why America is bad or why white kids are evil and why they should feel guilty for existing. It's gross. It's despicable. It's dangerous. It hurts your kids. It confuses your kids. And a lot of it is by design. Now, I know there's a lot of good school teachers out there. I would say the overwhelming majority of them are, but they're part of a system that is morally bankrupt. And they're taking that ideology, whether they realize it or not, and they're indoctrinating, they're infusing that through years and years and years of indoctrination to have your kids come out of the other side of this machine believing in diversity, equity, inclusion, the shame and guilt that they should feel because they're a white person that never took advantage of anybody, but that's what they would have you believe. that they're evil, that America is evil, that the ideology of meritocracy is a problem, and it's not. In fact, it's the answer. It's the solution. It happens in the medical institutions. I mean, look at transgenderism, gender quote unquote affirming care. I don't understand how we got to the point where we actually bought in collectively, not me individually, and certainly not plenty of you, bought into the idea that you could change a child's gender at all, let alone before they had the chance to even consent or make decisions. Hormone blockers, puberty blockers, lopping off genitals and body parts in order to become some sort of science experiment they would have done in the 1940s in Nazi Germany. I can't fathom it. I can't wrap my head around it. But this is happening, and we need to be aware of it, and we need to know where it's happening. Even the American Psychological Association and some of these otherwise prestigious organizations and universities conflating data and giving us false information. We're hearing a lot about COVID. Normal people knew that it was a big ruse to begin with, but even now we're seeing the proof that the Wuhan lab theory was not a theory at all. That's really what happened. In that masks weren't as effective as we were told, and that the social distancing guidelines were a bunch of made up fairy tale bullcrap. Like academia, the medical communities, they're broken. They're all built around special interests, big pharma, government interests, control. We see it on social media. Now, look, I know Mark Zuckerberg just came out and said, hey, we're going to loosen restrictions on free speech, on Meta and all of this kind of stuff. That guy is a moral coward. He's morally bankrupt. He's only doing it because it's politically and professionally expedient. We know that because he said it. He said, quote, now represents a cultural tipping point. That's why he's doing it. He's not a principled person. He's doing it because it's politically and professionally expedient. That's cowardice. We see it in entertainment. We see it in sports. Corporations, obviously, with their diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that's falling apart. And I love to see these things falling apart. But we really need to realize that these battles are being fought on multiple fronts, and we need to be aware of what they are. But let's get into what we can actually do about it. Number one, fix yourself first. Fix yourself first. It always starts with you. If you are morally bankrupt, if you are financially bankrupt, if you don't have the physique and the health that you know you need to have, if you don't have the knowledge and the expertise and the opportunity to learn what you need to learn in order to combat some of these things, if you're not personally sovereign, you are easily controllable and easily manipulated. If, for example, you don't have enough money in your bank account to rub two nickels together and you are living paycheck to paycheck, if your boss comes to you and says, I need you to do this thing that goes against your morals and principles, if you're financially bankrupt, you're significantly more likely to engage in behavior that you know is wrong because you don't have the financial resources to say, nope, I'm not doing that. So guys, we really need to tighten this up. And if you want a resource on that, go read the book Sovereignty. I wrote it in 2016. It's as applicable as it was, if not more so, almost 10 years later at this point. Go read it. Learn how to regain your sovereignty, your financial, spiritual, mental, physical, emotional, relational sovereignty, so that we can poise ourselves to help the people that we care about. Next is start with the smallest unit possible. A lot of guys constantly ask me, hey, Ryan, how do I fix my community? How do we change the cultural tide? And I wish I had a magic wand that I could wave and say, if we do these 7 things, then life will be better and our cities and our countries and our states will miraculously change around. That isn't how it works. And unfortunately, we can't do as much as we'd like to do as quickly as we'd like to do it. But it does start with the smallest unit possible. Fix yourself first, and then we move out from there. So it's your wife. It's your children. Are you having conversations about these things with them? Are you empowering them for their own sovereignty? Are you equipping them with the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual tools that they need to thrive? Are you having dinner with them? Are you having tough conversations? You know, the other day, my oldest son, who's 16 now, worked on a project together. We put a new muffler and exhaust system on his truck, but we had the opportunity to work on that together. And then afterwards, we sat with our arms draped over the tailgate and had powerful conversation about finances and overcoming hardship. And he had feedback for me and I had feedback for him. And we're having these powerful conversations that I fear too many men aren't having with their kids. We're so busy with work and hobbies and activities and interests and this and that and their sports and they're chasing girls and they've got jobs that we never take time for each other. Sitting around the dinner table, having conversations over the bed of a truck, laughing, playing, wrestling, joking, working on Legos together, you name it. Whatever you can do to be involved, coaching your kids' teams. I'm going to be coaching 2 of my kids' teams as we move into the spring. All of that is so crucial. I mean, it really is. And yet I think in a lot of ways, we as men have lost that. And it's my goal and ambition as we continue into 2025 that I continue to give you tools and resources you need, as well as for myself to be able to lead my family well. But primarily, that's where your responsibilities lie. It's with you and your family. And once you have the capacity to serve your family and yourself, then you can start expanding that and broadening your reach. But you can't do that before you've been able to take care of your own. And that goes into our neighbors. Are you helping the new neighbor move in? Are you looking after their house when they're away? Are you helping them get rid of the old washer and dryer and install the new one? If they have a problem, will they turn to you? If they need to borrow butter for cooking or whatever it might be, do they know they can come to you? Are you going to them? Are you guys picking up each other's mail? Are you serving each other? Do you know each other's families? Are you spending time together? Your influence and power inside of your community is incredible. And yet sometimes we overlook it because we think it's not enough. It is enough. If you do it well, it is enough. And then from there, of course, you can get into your business and your company and how you're leading and how you're serving and how you're bringing new guys on and how you're coaching and counseling and advising new employees and how you're learning from other employees to give them opportunity to share with you. We can get into, and we'll talk a little bit about this. This is kind of the next step here, is getting into local politics, which admittedly is not something that I've been able to get involved in. Let me back up. That's not the right verbiage. Something that I have not got involved with, but something that I'm looking heavily into for 2025. School boards, city council, local politics, knowing who the movers and shakers are, being part of organizations like Toastmasters and Rotary and Chamber of Commerce, where you can start rubbing shoulders with the influential people in your neighborhood and in your community so you can build the influence. Because that's what we need. These organizations, even at the local level, have been infiltrated by vile, degenerate people. And the only way we begin to make change is by ousting them, pushing them out, and infusing ourselves into the equation, into the conversation, and into the decision making. So you're going to hear more about that from me as we roll into 2025, but I'm also encouraging you to do it as well. And that's what the next point was local politics. From there, and I know this is going to be a hard one for a lot of guys because you feel like, well, I don't have the personality or desire to do that. It's very important that you become well known in your community. I think about some of the people that I've looked up to even historical figures, modern day figures, friends, family, colleagues, coworkers. Some of these individuals are the most well-known people out there. They are the movers and shakers. They are the people who are titans of business. They are the people who know all the city council members. They've been the mayor. They've been on city council. They've been on the school boards. When you see them, they know everybody at the local basketball game. That has to be us. Man, that has to be us. We have to be the one that everybody knows. And why is that important? Because it means that you have the most influence and credibility with as many people as possible. And if you have influence and credibility with other people, then you can begin to shape the way they think. This is not about manipulation. This is not about unrighteous dominion or anything like that over other people. This is asserting yourself into conversations, meeting people, being generous, serving on boards, serving in the community, serving in the school, coaching your kids' teams so that everybody knows who you are and they know that you are a kind of man that they wish they could be with and the kind of men that they wish they could raise. That's the kind of man we need to become. And you do that by getting involved in as many things as possible, not at the expense of your family or yourself. Again, that goes to my previous point. Take care of yourself, take care of your family first. And then once you have the capacity to do that, now we can expand our reach. Next is, and this is the last point here. It's a fairly quick one, but I want you to be thinking about this as we roll into 2025. And I'm going to break this stuff down even deeper as we go on. But you need to enlist other men in this battle. You really do. I talk with men every single day who are lone wolves, who don't have another friend. I ask them if there's one person you could call if you were really struggling, like really struggling, gun to your mouth type struggling, who was it that you would call? And unfortunately, there's way too many men who cannot answer that question. They don't have one person they could call. Not one single man they could call and say, here's what I'm going through. Can you help me? Or can you give me some guidance, direction, advice, or input? Not one. We can't do this alone. And we can't do this in isolated little chambers. We all need to band together. And so that means if you're fixing yourself and you know where the battle is and you know where it's taking place and you're working on yourself and you're taking care of your family and you're getting involved in city council and you're coaching your kids' teams and you're active, engaged, and you're getting well known in the community, start bringing other people in. Bring other men in. That's a Bible study. If you don't want to do a Bible study, then study a good book. Do a book club. Hey guys, we're going to get together every couple of weeks or every month, and we're going to talk about books. We're going to talk about this one in particular, Sovereignty, a shameless plug, my own book. Use that one and do a book club on it for the next 30 to 60 days. Get an opportunity to connect. I don't even care if it's something like you just get together every Sunday morning for coffee or a men's group in your church. The one thing I would caution against some of those is don't make it casual. Don't make it light. Like dive deep into real topics. Who cares about the sports team? Who cares about the weather? Who cares about the hobbies? Like dive deep. What are your fears? What are your concerns? What are your goals? What are your aspirations? And what part of your life have you messed up? And what part of your life have you succeeded? Who can I help introduce you to? How can I serve you? How can you serve me? Get deep in these conversations. If you don't know how to start a men's group, you can join our group. We're not currently open, but you can get on the waiting list. It's orderofman.com/Iron Council. Certainly do that. But in the meantime, look for other opportunities to get involved with other men. If you don't know where they go to Rotary, go to Chamber, go to Toastmasters, go to the gym. And when you're at the gym, don't put earbuds in. Actually take the earbuds out and engage with people around you. If somebody's lifting next to you and you see a lift they're doing, you're not familiar with it, ask them about it. Be involved, get involved, be engaged. This is what we need. There is a battle, as Joe Biden might say, for the heart and soul of this country. Now, he was misguided when he said it, and he's as misguided, if not more so today, than he ever was, mainly because of health concerns. Maybe not mainly, but a lot of it has to do with his degenerative issues that he's dealing with. But he was right when he said that we're dealing with the battle for the heart and soul of this nation. He was wrong about how he approached it. He was wrong about his solutions. He was probably wrong about his diagnosis of the problem. But the reality is there is a battle for the heart and soul of this nation. And there's a battle for the heart and soul of every single man listening to this podcast. And people who want you to play small, who want to have control and power and authority over you, would love nothing more than for you to be fat, broke, depressed, anxious, suicidal, isolated. They love that because you're easier to control and manipulate. We have to build ourselves into sovereign men so that we can lead ourselves, lead our families, lead our neighbors, community members, colleagues, coworkers, clients, and then start building from there. This is a battle, guys. It has been a battle. It always will be a battle. And we need to maintain some vigilance when it comes to what we're doing in addressing this battle. So again, recognize what's actually happening. And if you don't know by now, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're either being blissfully ignorant or willfully stupid. There's something at play here. Number two, know where the battle's fought. Academia, medical institutions, social media, entertainers, legacy media, corporations, sports. It's permeated every fabric of society. Number three, fix yourself first. Number four, start with the smallest unit possible and don't think that that's too little. If you dive fully into that, and that's all you ever did in your life, you would be a value add. You would be an asset to your people. Next is get involved in local politics like school board and city council. Become well known in your town. Credibility, influence, authority, Rotary, chamber, school boards, these types of organizations. And then last is start enlisting other men through Bible studies, book studies, men's groups, Sunday coffee, whatever you can do to get guys together on a consistent basis and actually have meaningful and powerful conversations. Imagine if every man listening to this podcast did that. Millions of men across not only the country, but across the planet decided, I'm just going to do these 7 things this year. This is all I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on doing these 7 things. Not only would your life change, the cultural tide would change. And that's what we need. We cannot do it alone. I can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. But if we start banding together and we start creating these networks and these frameworks everywhere we go and everywhere we turn, people are beginning to adopt the protect, provide, preside motto and working to reclaim and restore masculinity. We will put this world in a completely different place. And that's my goal, that's my hope, and that's my desire and my prayer that we can get this done. It won't take a year. It'll maybe take a decade or longer, but we can start working towards it. If you have any questions or thoughts or ideas, please reach out to me. I'm most active on Instagram at Ryan Michler. You can email me. I'm also more and more active over on X, again, at Ryan Michler. Let me know what you think. Share ideas, share this podcast, share whatever you can to build this grassroots movement of protecting, providing, and presiding. And let's start to win the battle for culture. And that's what it is. It's a hard fight, but it's one worth having. All right, guys, I'll be back next week on Tuesday for an interview. Until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.